Welcome back to another edition of Stuff You Don't Usually See. Once again, you know the rules. This is something we do every week for a group of local radio stations. We record a segment and we send it over to them. But most of the time, you don't see what that looks like. Today, you're going to see what that looks like. My guest today, Tristen Lopez from College Station Police Department. How are you doing?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Officer Lopez, also public information officer. Is that a correct title for you?
Yes, sir.
So just to give people an idea, like as a public information officer, what are your responsibilities generally for PD?
I spend a lot of time interacting with the local news media, but my primary responsibilities is really to communicate with our community, with our residents, and talking about public safety, and especially anything about public safety that has to do with the police department.
And as we know, like stuff only happens between the hours of 8 and 5. Like nothing ever happens after that. So it's an easy job.
It's 24 hours.
I know it is. Okay, so this is kind of our warm up. So you ready to do the thing for radio?
Yes,
ready
sir.
to do it? Okay. Here we go. Well, thank you and good morning. My guest today is Tristen Lopez. He is Officer Tristen Lopez with College Station Police Department. He is also the Public Information Officer for the Police Department. Officer Lopez, how you doing?
I'm great. Thank you.
Good, good. Okay, so you are here to talk about National Night Out 2021, correct?
Yes, the 38th annual National Night Out for our community.
38. Okay, so how many have you been a part of?
5 or 6.
Okay, and those have been the best 5 or 6 by far.
They seem to grow every year.
Okay, so for 2021, what does National Night Out look like? And I guess for people who aren't familiar with it, I assume that most people are, but some people aren't. What is National Night Out, and what's it going to look like this year?
National Night Out is an event that was conceived of and is sponsored by the National Association of Town Watch. And what that is it's essentially a new age neighborhood watch. And the idea is to get out of your house, meet your neighbors, know them and what they're all about, and to foster that relationship with your neighbors. And in doing so, how can you involve the police department and other public safety agencies and work towards the common goal of making our neighborhoods safer?
Yeah. Has National Night Out become a little more difficult to execute or to convince residents to take part in as we have become a more and more digital society where we kind of keep our noses in screens and we're not necessarily out in the yard as much? I mean, I know that's kind of a loaded question, but I'm just curious. Has it become a different kind of event or a more challenging event to sort of organize over the years?
Well, I remember growing up that we'd have neighborhood block parties, and we tended to know our neighbors more than I think I do nowadays. And so it's really about with National Night Out, how can we be more purposeful about at least having this one event a year? Let's host a neighborhood block party. Mm-hmm. If there's not one already planned, maybe I can be the one that plans that for my community. We can, if you want to learn more about doing that, reach out to us at the police department. We'll give you ideas on how to organize that. But any block parties, we encourage you to register those with the police department so that we can get police officers and maybe even some firefighters to stop by your neighborhood block party to talk about your specific concerns in your neighborhood, on your block. What is it you're concerned about? What is the crime that's occurring in your specific neighborhood? And what steps can we take to address that and to make our neighborhood safer?
What do block parties typically look like?
A lot of it is people hanging out in the front yard, grilling, having hamburgers, hot dogs, the kids having games that they play, throwing the frisbee, throwing a football, maybe playing some basketball or just riding their bikes up and down the street. Some of it depends on the age of the kids. And then as you get bigger, some subdivisions get together and have a subdivision block party, and they'll have bounce houses, they'll have snow cones, they'll have maybe a food truck that comes by. And so it's really, what do you want to make of your block party? And does your neighborhood or subdivision already have one that you can just show up at?
Yeah.
Or do you need to be the one to kind of lead that effort?
Right. And so in addition to, just getting to know one another and who's living next door and across the street and so forth, what kinds of topics do you encourage people to talk about? Where are good starting points for those conversations?
We live in a very safe community, and we're very fortunate about that. And people want to know, often they'll ask us what's going on, what's crime look like. Population's increasing, is crime also increasing? We're seeing online that there's there's certain types of crimes that are occurring that maybe we're not used to hearing about. So is this a concern? And the response is that we still live in a very safe community. We're still fortunate. The most prevalent crimes in College Station continue to be property crimes in nature, and a lot of those are vehicle burglaries. And that's because, in large part, over 90% of those historically are going to be unlocked car doors. And we feel safe. We live in a safe community, and so we let our guard down, kind of. And so what measures can we take in our neighborhood to help prevent some of those crimes from occurring? So if we can take some simple measures of locking our car doors, locking our house doors at night, bringing in our valuables, making sure that we don't leave guns unattended in motor vehicles where they can fall into the wrong hands, and then end up being used in other crimes. Don't leave your spare key to your vehicle in your spouse's car, because if they leave their car unlocked, or if it gets broken into, then now they have the keys to your car, and now your car is being used to facilitate crimes where they're trying to remain anonymous.
Yeah. Is there a way online? I feel like there is, like a resource. If I wanted to find out, for instance, wonder what kinds of crimes are typically happening in my part of the city, because that may look a little different from another part of the city,
Yes.
across town. Isn't there an online resource for me to kind of get a snapshot of what that looks like?
Yes, sir. Crimemapping.com. If you go to crimemapping.com and plug in College Station, then you'll see certain types of crimes that occur geographically on a map in your neighborhood. You can even set up alerts, so when some crimes occur near you, then you can get an alert that that's occurred, but whether that's through email or text message. We also are participating in some online communities. We're on Nextdoor and we're on Ring Neighbors, and on both of those platforms tend to be focused more on public safety than necessarily on all of the other random posts that may occur on say Facebook or Twitter or Instagram. And so if you're on Ring Neighbors or you're on Nextdoor, then that's sort of more of a community bulletin board, and both of those websites have geared themselves more towards fostering your neighborhood, and have even marketed themselves more towards a kind of a new age neighborhood watch.
Those are great points. So going to those sites, plus you said crimemapping.com.
Crime mapping.
Those might be great things to do before you ever get to your National Night Out block party, because that gives you almost current or real-time intel to discuss with your neighbors, I would guess.
Yes, certainly. And just making sure that you do make that invite to the police department so you can get an officer to show up. We'll do our best to get an officer that regularly patrols your neighborhood to be the one that comes to your block party, so you could have an opportunity to meet them, put a face to the name, and interact with the person that's working in your community, and then also express your concerns to that officer on, say, if speeding on a certain street during the school zone in the morning hours is a concern to you, and you want to make sure that is communicated to us, then that's an opportunity to do that as well.
Okay, so I know you've got a web page on our site that is set up specifically for this event. It's cstx.gov/NNO. If somebody goes there, what should they do?
You could read about the history of National Night Out, which we've been discussing, or click the link and register your block party. That'll get your information for your block party sent to one of our community outreach officers with our community enhancement unit, and they should be following up with you to confirm that we've received that registration.
Okay.
If you need to call us, then look for community enhancement unit, and you can talk to one of our officers in our community enhancement unit about National Night Out.
Okay. So what did I leave out? What did I miss?
I think we've covered everything. National Night Out is an opportunity to get out of your house, meet your neighbors, and talk about public safety in our community, so we can work to make our neighborhood a better, safer place to live, work, and visit.
Okay. Before I let you go, do we need to give a final plug for anything like recruiting or anything else that is sort of top of mind for PD?
The police department is always hiring, especially officers and dispatchers, public safety telecommunicators. So go to the city's website for hiring for human resources for jobs, and search for police, and we'll be happy to work with you.
Okay, that sounds good. Officer Tristen Lopez, thanks a bunch for talking to me about National Night Out.
Thank you, sir.
And thank you guys for letting us talk about the city of College Station. And that is stuff you don't usually see. we do it?
Got it.
All right.
Interesting.
Well,